Welcome to Habitly Courses, a production of Manage to Win. Each course is divided into multiple lessons for easy viewing. All are now completely free, so you can watch them on your own or work through them as a team. Please subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, and share your favorite lessons with others. Try to find something that helps you be your best. Welcome to lesson 2 of Assessing Talent. We're going to talk about behaviors. Now, behaviors are what people think about the most. Before we dive in, I want to ask you, what types of assessments have you taken before? There's the Enneagram. That was popular for a little while. It's more personality oriented. Strengths Finder was before that, and there were like personality themes. The Myers-Briggs been around forever. A little more clinical. There's DISC. People talk about DISC all the time, and that is the behavioral portion of the tests that we use, the assessments. PIAV is values, personal interests, attitudes, and values. That's the values or driving forces or motivators. And in our Manage to Win Talent assessments, we do behaviors, we do driving forces, the PIAV, and then we also do competencies, 25 different ones. I'm just curious, what have you done before? What's it been like? What's your feeling about it? DISC as far as a foundation. Now, this was defined by William Moulton Marston. Interesting guy. He wrote The Emotions of Normal People, real thick book, very interesting. He invented Wonder Woman, the character, although some people think his wife actually came up with the idea and he took credit for it. Isn't it interesting when we think about this guy created DISC and he also invented the lie detector? He also lived with his wife and his girlfriend. So he's kind of a different type of guy, although these days that's more common. So the first person to put the DISC into graphics was Walter Clark. And that's what we base the way we do our graphics. And we get our reports from our partner, Target Training International, TTI. They have over 30 years of research behind our reports. I'm going to talk about this in general. So if you're not using our reports, there's still value here. You're going to learn a lot about behaviors. When you take any assessment, you need to consider, is it validated and is it accurate? So when you get your report, is it 100% true? Well, if you do our dual perspective, which is behaviors and driving forces or motivators, then it's typically 80 to 85% accurate. Our triple perspective throws in the competency piece, and it integrates all this data together. And so usually those reports are about 90 to 95% accurate. Keep in mind, they're still making general statements. But one of the keys here is over 15 million of these assessments have been taken. And I'm talking about assessments provided by our partner. So very, very validated. What we're looking to do is, how do we apply what we learn? Number one, we're going to focus our time on activities related to our strengths. We want to build on our strengths. We don't take these assessments to identify our weaknesses and then beat ourselves up. We also want to apply what we learn to recognize the core behavioral style of others, because we may need to adapt how we behave differently with different people, so we have better communication, we work with them more efficiently, more effectively. So how to apply what you learn? First of all, you need to understand yourself. This is the only person you have the potential to be 100% in control of. Secondly, as I just mentioned, we're going to identify and try to understand and appreciate people who have a different style than us. And by the way, it might be an irritating different style. But then we're going to develop some processes to behave more effectively with different styles than our own. It's natural for us to get along with people with our own style, although in some behavioral styles, it can be irritating because you're somewhat competing and that may be uncomfortable for you. But then we want to make these processes of playing to our strengths and getting along better with others a habit. Here's just some different thoughts on where we're going with the behaviors. These are the 12 behaviors that are addressed in our reports. Let's talk about the primary bar graph you're going to see in the behavioral portion of one of our reports. There are side-by-side graphs. I'll get to that in a moment. But Behaviors are not good or bad. They're high or low, which indicates the type of behavior. It's how we do things. But if you have a low score, that doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's different. If you have a high score, it doesn't mean, wow, you're a superstar. It just means you're more intense. Behaviors are affected by our why, which are motivators or driving forces, and also on the right-hand side there by the what, our knowledge or our life experience. Keep that in mind. That's why they can change over time. Our life experience changes. Sometimes our driving forces or motivators change. That can bring about a behavioral change as far as our habits. In our reports, we give you two side-by-side vertical bar graphs. On the left-hand side, which I'm referring to now, is the adapted style. This is how you adapt your behaviors to be successful in the workplace. It's changeable because you're already adapting. It's survive or succeed mode. Now, on the right-hand side is your natural style. That's how you naturally behave outside of work, or if you're put under a lot of pressure, you'll naturally revert to this style. This is what they look like side by side in our reports. Remember, people are different. There's not good or bad. Across the middle, you see a horizontal line. We call that the energy line. That's what separates you from one style of each behavior, the D, the I, the S, and the C, from the other. Just above and just below that energy line, you have situational zones. So if you're a little bit above the line, like if you look on the natural style, the right-hand graph, the red bar for the D, that's situational because it's 56. That means you would lean towards the high side of that behavior, but you probably have some attributes of the low side. Also, staying with that natural style graph, on the far right in the blue, the C is situational on the low side. So you would lean towards some of the behaviors on the lower side of the C behavior, but you might have some of the high behaviors also. What we're going to measure for intensity is how far away each of these goes from that energy line in the middle. They don't do the graphic yet that we really like. So where it just says one or the other for intensity, where it just gives you some numbers. But you can look at these. When you count from the center, the energy line, when you look at the high I, it is 38 above that line. You also notice in this one, so this is a tough one, it is 38 below for the S. So there's a tie. Which one's a little bit more intense? Because it's only going to be a little bit. Well, then you look at the natural style and you see that the I naturally is 2 points lower, but the S stays the same. So the more intense one is the low S. We'll talk more about that, but pay attention. I'm going to test you in a moment. Some final tips here. You see, I'm going off the energy line, that 50% line. When you look at the D at 94, it is 44 points above that energy line. So it is the primary behavior. The secondary one is the second furthest from the energy line. That's the S. That is 38 below. Are you ready? I've got two more tips to give you. This one points out what is the core behavior? What's the highest above the energy line? In this profile, you can see the D is. It is the highest above. It's 40 points above the energy line. And last but not least, we're going to talk about what's the pure style. This is one of our older graphs, actually, because it doesn't happen very often. But this person is 99 on the D. I think it might be my profile, actually, the way it used to be. And so that is 49 points. It can only be a maximum of 50 points above the energy line. This person is a very high, intense D. One last look at this style insights graph so you can test yourself. Do you understand why something is situational? It's a primary or secondary behavior. It's high or low. The D is situational on the low side at 43. It's between 40 and 50. The primary behavior is the I because it's the lowest. It's 38 points below at a 12. That's the most intense. The S is high at 64. It's just beyond the situational range on the top side. And then lastly, we've got the C. It's the second most intense. It's 34 above the energy line. Remember the I, 38 below. This one's 34. Now let me test you. I'm going to give you three different tests. Here's the first one. You tell me. Okay, here's the first test. Now, my question to you is very simple, and I'm going to give you 15 seconds. What is the primary and what is the secondary behavior? We're at 5 seconds. No pressure here. What is the farthest from the energy line? 12 seconds, 13, 14, 15. Okay. All right, here's your answer. The primary is highest, 50 points above. It's at 100. You cannot be any higher than 100 points. So that is the primary. It's the most intense behavior of this person. The second most intense is the low D. It's 24 below the line at 26. You ready to do this again? We'll play our little game. All right, with this one, what's the primary? What's the secondary? I have started my clock. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. You ready? Almost, and time's up. Here we go. So the primary is the low I. It's only 5. A lot of people get tricked into thinking, oh, the 90's got to be the most intense. No, remember, we're counting from the 50% energy line. So we're 45 below for the I, we're 40 above for the C. One more time. Let's play the game. Which is the primary? Which is the secondary? You have 15 seconds. We're at 5 seconds. You guys should be faster now anyway. We're at 10 seconds. And are you ready? We're at 15 seconds, and the answer is the primary is the high I. The secondary is the low C. It's a reverse of what we had in the prior one. So the high I is up there at 95, 45 above the line. The low C is at 10, that's 40 below. I hope you're getting it now. It'll help. Let me walk you through what the D, I, S, and C mean. So the D stands for dominance. It's how you handle problems and challenges. Now, there's not right or wrong. There's not good or bad. There's just people who are different. So a high D, the way they handle problems and challenges is they want to go fast and they want to solve things quickly. So they have a tendency to miss details, but they're not afraid of problems. All right, I'm a super high D. I could run for the president of the United States. I do not want to be president, but I want to solve the problems our country is facing. Now, the reverse of that is the low D. The low D is not going to rush. They're going to take their time. They're going to gather their information, and they want to be very calculated, well organized, so they avoid making mistakes. Some people like this graphic. It has a lot of general statements, but you can see in the high D, they're moving quickly. Notice it says loves confrontation, quick to anger. I used to be 100% on the D. I'm now 93% on the D, so extremely high. I am not quick to anger, and I do not like confrontation. So keep in mind, these are generalities. Let me test you. What do you think? Who are the people who are high Ds here? I've got famous people. You got Gordon Ramsay, the TV chef. You got Robin Williams, who is an awesome actor. Arianna Huffington of the Huffington Post. And you got Steve Jobs, one of the best, greatest entrepreneurs the world has ever known. Who do you think, which two are a high D? Give you a few more seconds. Are we ready? Bingo. Gordon Ramsay, Steve Jobs. They were drivers. Well, Gordon Ramsay still is. Big time drivers, push. Now let's talk about I, influencing how you interact with other people. Simplest way to look at it is high I is extrovert, low I is introvert. The higher you go on the I, the lower you go, the more intense. So I can take a high extrovert and put them in a room of 400 people for 3 hours. They're going to come out of that room totally energized. Everybody's their new best friend, but they don't remember anybody's name. I can take the low I, put them in that same room in 15 minutes, maximum 30 minutes. They're going to be exhausted. It's going to be really draining. They're going to want to sit in the corner and just don't want to talk to one person or leave altogether. However, the high I has lots of friendships, but often not deep friendships. The low I might have 1, 2, or 3 friendships for life. They're just different. Here's this graphic. Once again, some general thoughts on what it means to be an I on the high side or low side. And my question to you, which two famous people are a high I? We got Oprah Winfrey. We got Bill Clinton, Mahatma Gandhi, and Bill Gates. What do you think? High I, somebody who's extroverted. Give you a few more seconds. There we go. Oprah and Bill. They are the high I's. I bet many of you got that right. Let's move on to the S, steadiness, how you handle pace and work environment. The high S is someone who does not like change, can be skeptical, likes working on a small team, and does not like risk. But they're usually really good on process, and they're loyal team members because they don't like change. The low S is somebody who likes more of an unstructured environment. They're not as good with process typically, and they like a lot of freedom to operate, and they're comfortable with risk. So you have some different contrast there in your work environment. Here's some general terms that you can consider regarding the S. And then, who are two famous people on this list who are a high S? Is it Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers quarterback? We got Tiger Woods, we got Mother Teresa, and Jerry Seinfeld, the comedian. What do you think? This is a toughie. All right, here we go. Or you can stop if you want more time. All right, the answer is Aaron Rodgers and Mother Teresa. Now, I will tell you, when I do this presentation in person, 90% of the time somebody says Tiger Woods. But remember, I said the high S does not like risk. Tiger Woods was out sleeping with a different woman every month when he was married. Not every month, almost every day. Okay, that's not a guy who's afraid of risk. All right, really intense guy, great athlete, but that's not somebody who's afraid of risk. So think about this carefully when you're thinking about yourself. Also, when you're trying to figure out what's the most intense behavior of someone else. Last but not least, we have C for compliance or conscientious. This is how you respond to rules and procedures set by others. The high C, particularly the super high C, very analytical, detail-oriented. The higher it goes up, they are the perfectionist. They're going to follow the rules. They do not want to make any mistakes. They want to do it once and do it right. They may miss a deadline because they'd rather be perfect than be on time. They may have higher standards for other people than themselves. They may have difficulty admitting they make mistakes, but they are often the smartest person in the room, and they can figure almost anything out, given enough time. The low C, in contrast, has difficulty with details, not very analytical, jumps to conclusions. They want to do it their own way. They may make commitments, but they don't follow through. They have their own set of rules. Need to be a little bit careful there. So here are some general terms: high C, low C. All right, it's test time. Which two famous people are a high C? We've got Arnold Schwarzenegger, Albert Einstein, Tiger Woods again, and Bill Gates. Who do you think are the high C's on this list? I'll give you a few seconds. Here we go. Albert Einstein and Bill Gates. I mean, these are the detail-oriented people. All right, here we go. Now, in our reports, there is also a Success Insights wheel. That's on the right side there. This plots what we talked about earlier, those two vertical graphs, the natural style and the adapted style. The natural is a dot, the adapted's a star, and we want those pretty close together. So let me explain how you read this. Ideally, we want the dot and the star within 3 of these squares. They're not really squares, but they call them squares. This one is 3 between the dot and the square. So if your circle and star are separated by more than 3 spaces, it's more and more stressful the way you're trying to adapt your behaviors on the job. Notice we have our C and our S on the left side. So if they're over on that side, they tend to be introverts. The D's and the I's are on the right side. They tend to be extroverts. Do the same thing. Draw a line across the middle. You have top and bottom. On the top, you have C's and D's. Those are the task-oriented people. The S's and the I's on the bottom are the people-oriented people. Now, the closer you get to the middle, the more flexible you are. That's actually a problem. Notice this person's star is in the middle. That means they probably take on too much. They say yes too often, and they struggle with deadlines. They may have difficulty with focus. When it's more towards the outside, the person tends to be more set in their ways and possibly more focused. Let me show you a couple of the slides here. So these are descriptive words for each profile. So if you're thinking about what is that implementer at the top of the circle, so it's typically someone who's creative. They'll be a slow start, but a fast finish because they're thinking about things creatively, unwavering, might be a little temperamental. So you go through each of these. Remember, they're generalities. If this is one of your profiles, which one of them has to be, it may not speak to you on each one, but it may speak a little bit less. All right. Like if you stay with that one creative, you may not be highly creative or, an incredible artist, but you are someone who's creative in some ways. Next, this is kind of interesting. Words not to use for each profile. You're thinking, well, what does that mean? Well, think about it. If you look just to the left on the top, you have an analyzer. That's a high C. So if you walk up to a high C and you say, hey, I want you to spend the next 2 days working on this project. It's a guess that I have, it might work. They're not going to like that. Or if they ask you a question and you say, well, I think it's this, but I don't have any data to back it up. They don't want to know that. Remember, these are the perfectionists. So these are some interesting considerations when you think someone has a particular behavioral style or you see their report and you find them on this graph. You might want to avoid these types of words. Here's my last slide for behaviors. It's kind of scary, quite frankly. So it starts with, at the top, keep in mind, you can't motivate another person. You can only create an environment where they are self-motivated. They don't think like you. That's the next one. People are motivated for their reasons, not for yours. Keep that in mind. The third one can be confusing for some people. A person's strengths overextended may become a weakness. What that means is if we bury them in doing work related to their strengths, it may become a weakness. They can't do their best. It's going to stress them out, not going to go well. The fourth one is concerning. Think about it. If a person understands him or herself better than you understand yourself, then that person can control the communication of the situation. So it's really important to understand yourself. What are your most intense behaviors? What are your most intense drivers? And even your soft skills, those competencies. What are your strongest competencies? Where are ones that you need to work on to make them so they don't hurt you? And where are your strengths, you can make them stronger. But you need to understand yourself to work effectively with others. The last one is the most scary. If a person understands him or herself and understands you better than you understand yourself, they can control you. Might be subconscious, might be conscious, but it's probably not going to be pleasant. So please take the time to understand your most intense behavior, whether you take one of our assessments or whether you just study this material and come up with your own conclusions, which may or may not be accurate, but at least it's better than nothing. This is the conclusion of this lesson. Please pass the exam. We put some thought in there. You can kind of check what you remember. And then once you've done that, move on to the next lesson. Thanks.